Hi, everyone, and welcome. My name is Gabrielle Trasati. I'm the outreach coordinator for the Luksic Scholars Foundation. And today we will be talking about the Luksic Visiting Scholars Program at Harvard DRCLAS. So today, as for the event, I will start with some brief information about the Luksic Scholars Foundation and what it is that we do. And then we will hear from our special guest. We're joined by Andy Elric, who's here with us today. He is the executive director of DRCLAS. He'll give a short presentation on the details of the program. And then we will chat with Luksic scholar Eduardo Undurraga, who completed his program in fall of 2022. He's currently an associate professor at the School of Government at Universidad Católica de Chile. So he'll be sharing his experience with us as what it was like to be a visiting scholar there at Harvard on campus. We'll also get some advice from him as well. And then when we near the event, there will be time for a Q&A, so you can ask us all of your questions. So I'll go ahead and just get us started about the history of the foundation. So our journey actually began 20 years ago with a collaboration actually with the Harvard David Rockefeller Center for Latin American Studies. Since then, we have been committed to supporting Chile's development by bridging connections with international academia. Our goal has always been to provide Chileans access to academic opportunities that will help strengthen their leadership skills and knowledge. And the Harvard DRCLAS program is a great example of that. And since the year 2000, we've built a portfolio of over 30 programs, which have been carried out around the world. We're talking Chile, of course, China, Croatia, France, the US, the UK. And as a result, there have been over more than 2,000 individuals who've participated in these initiatives. Eduardo is one of them. And then beyond this programmatic work, we have supported the establishment of 4 international university offices here in Chile. And then in 2019, the Luksic Scholars community was built for those who have participated in programs before. And the following year, in 2020, we were formally recognized as a foundation. In terms of what guides us, we do have 3 guiding principles. These are country vision, connectedness, and plurality. So all the work that we do in terms of country vision, we want it to align with Chile's development, of course, keeping in mind that today's challenges are both global and interdisciplinary. In terms of connectedness, we do seek to create and strengthen bridges, not just with Chile and the world, but also within Chile as well. And we do this by making strategic collaborations with academic institutions. And then in terms of plurality, we are hoping to make sure that there's a diverse range of people and talent who are able to access the opportunities that we support. So for example, sharing this information with your friends, with colleagues who you think would be interested is a start, is a way. Also information sessions like this. And so what we do, Eduardo, you're actually in this photo, the top one to the right. We essentially, our current work, what it looks like is 3 types of programs that we support. So master's scholarships. These allow for the creation of trained leaders and experts. And the second would be research funding, which is the Harvard DRCLAS program we're talking about today, which allows for the development and promotion of local knowledge. This is in order to better position Chile and Chilean academia. And then the third is bespoke programs, which help to create this critical mass of individuals and systems so that they have the skills they need to generate change in their environments. And all of those who participate in our programs are then invited to join the Luksic Scholars community. And through this community, we connect and engage with all of those who've participated in our programs. We provide professional opportunities. We really seek to acompañar, to accompany you throughout your sort of entire journey of sort of this pre-program and the application process, during the program when you're actually on campus, and then of course this after. We've organized gatherings and we have an annual fund to support your projects, which you can apply to. In terms of the Harvard DRCLAS Luksic Visiting Scholars Program specifically, as I mentioned, this is the first and original partnership that we have. This began in 2000. And since then, we've had 28 scholars who've completed this program, representing over 12 different fields. So this opportunity is for Chilean academics or professors from any academic discipline to be able to spend 4 months on Harvard's campus developing their research. This is a very exciting opportunity. You are provided with it's a full financed opportunity, stipend, round trip travel expenses, emergency healthcare coverage, access to Harvard's facilities, which Andrew's going to tell us all about. And so we really do encourage you to apply, or at least consider applying for following years if maybe this year isn't the year for you. It is important to note that for all of the programs, all of the admissions and fund allocation processes are managed exclusively by the academic institutions. So we provide the support and the funding, and the institutions, they take care and manage of the admissions process. So that is it from me. I did want to keep it short so we can get to the best part. I will go ahead and stop sharing and pass the microphone over to Andy. Thanks so much.
Thank you, Gabi. Muchas gracias. Hello, everyone. My name is Andy Elric. I am the Executive Director of the David Rockefeller Center for Latin American Studies at Harvard. We use an acronym, DRCLAS, and we say DRCLAS. There is no professor named Dr. Class. It's our acronym, and you'll be hearing it with some frequency. DRCLAS. Each year, a number of distinguished academics and visiting professionals are selected to spend 1 or 2 semesters at Harvard through this program at the David Rockefeller Center for Latin American Studies. The Luksic Visiting Scholar Program is one of 10 programs at the center, and one that we consider our flagship, having worked now for 23 years with a really wonderful partner in the foundation. Over 28 academics have come through, as Gabby said, and we're so grateful to the family and the foundation for your support of Harvard's many programs. Among the scholars, the 28 over the years are some names you might recognize. I'll just give you a few now. There's Sol Serrano, Sebastián Soto, Claudio Fuentes, John Martinez, Maria Sara Rodriguez, Juan Pablo Luna, and of course, many others, and our dear friend Eduardo, who is here today. I want to talk to you a little bit about why Harvard and why DRCLAS might be an option for you. You have many, many programs to apply to, probably all over the world. I want to tell you about what DRCLAS may be a little different. So first, we also accept practitioners, not just academics. It is very, very rare, but it happens. And so we've had journalists, politicians, former politicians, artists, filmmakers, poets, and they've been an important part of both the cohort and the community. And that's a distinguishing factor for us. The cohort itself is another differentiator. The Luksic scholar at DRCLAS is one of up to 12 scholars in these 10 programs. So you won't be alone. In fact, you'll be sharing offices with these scholars and be connected to a community of many, many hundreds of others across Harvard University. We make a lot of effort to connect the dozens and dozens of centers, academic departments, and schools at Harvard to our program, including programs such as visiting scholar programs such as Neiman, Radcliffe, Weatherhead, and many, many others, all of which I should say are open to Chilean applicants for the specialized field of that center. DRCLAS, our opportunity is for any field or discipline. Harvard is a very large and very decentralized place. Some say it's not even a single university, it's 13 fiercely independent schools. I've been here for 22 years now and at various parts of Harvard, and I can certainly attest to that. But it's by design, and it's helped Harvard establish centers and departments of excellence all throughout the university over the centuries and decades. And so it's something that it's a value that we share. But decentralization has its drawbacks if you're only here for a semester and you want to take advantage of all Harvard has to offer. I'm sure Eduardo can relate and can share later, But this is where Dr. Class comes in. Our faculty and staff help connect the visiting scholars to opportunities across the university through formal and informal networks. And often you help us by finding other Latin Americans and Latin Americanists at Harvard that have yet to come across Dr. Class's door. As I said, we know about 250 to 300 academics, but there are more coming every semester, and the community is constantly renewing itself. A few more things that may be interesting to you to know about Harvard that you would have access to while you're here. We have 70 libraries, 70, 11 museums, dozens and dozens of athletic facilities, thousands and thousands of courses, seminars, community events, all of which you'll have access to, and a lot of perks that you get as a visiting scholar. Discounted access to cultural events all over the greater Boston area, including Boston Red Sox tickets at Fenway Park for baseball, or the ferry across the harbor to Provincetown. So it's really a delightful, delightful set of opportunities that you'd have during the semester. Not enough time to do everything, but certainly a lot to choose from. I'm going to switch now to the application requirements, which are fairly simple. There are 3 elements: your project proposal, your CV, and 2 letters of recommendation. While it does help, we do not require a letter of recommendation from a Harvard professor, but we do want to know why Harvard and why now. So what is it about Harvard that is a good match for your project? What faculty, what collections, what resources would make Harvard the right place for you to spend a semester? Existing connections to Harvard faculty are helpful, but they are absolutely not required. We do, however, want to know why Harvard for your particular project. I believe we've mentioned on the website, and this is not a postdoc program. So current PhDs and very recent PhDs are not appropriate candidates. And finally, the scholars and fellows are decided on by a faculty committee in a really, really competitive process. We get hundreds of applications in the course of a year, and we select on the basis of your qualifications, your research plan, and the relevance of that plan both to the center's mission and its objectives. I think I'm probably at time, but I've covered everything I wanted in the overview, and we can certainly take questions later on.
Thanks, Andy. Awesome, wonderful, very concise. This will be a shorter information session, which will be great, actually, getting everyone's questions answered and sharing relevant information. Thank you, Eduardo, for being here with us today. We're going to hear firsthand about your experience of being on campus, having applied to this program. I'm sure those who are attending this information session sort of would love to hear that information. So if you could start by just telling us a bit about you and your general experience there as a scholar, and what that application process was like.
Sure. Thank you, Gabriel, and thank you, Andrew. So my name is Eduardo Undurraga. I'm an associate professor at Universidad Católica, the Escuela de Gobierno. I'm an engineer by background, and I work on infectious disease transmission. And I participated in Dr. Class in a project related to the effects of the COVID pandemic on education. So in a nutshell, I think that this scholarship is as good as a scholarship can be. I mean, it's very generous in terms of funding. It has very little requirements, and it has, as Andrew said, an incredible amount of good opportunities and activities at Harvard. So I think everything goes smoothly. I mean, everything is easy. The paperwork, once you get accepted, things are really easy. Getting settled in Boston, moving to Boston, getting your bank account, all that part, the practical part for those who are concerned, is really easy. I moved there with 3 kids and my wife, and they all went to school. They all had a very, very good experience. As Andrew said, there's a lot of opportunities to go to see sports games. I went to see the Red Sox, the Celtics, Patriots, Bruins. So family-wise, it was a beautiful experience. On the academic side, I mean, it's Harvard. So, I mean, 70 libraries, sports facilities, world-class researchers. You know all that part. I won't repeat it, what Andrew said. But also there's other things. Harvard is in Cambridge, and in the area there's more than 30 universities. So there's also opportunities beyond Harvard. There's also seminars going on, good connections going on, a lot of networking opportunities. Then Dr. Class does a great work on selecting the cohort. So my cohort was fantastic, and I'm still in touch with a lot of them. So it's faculty from the USA, but also from many countries in Latin America, including in my cohort was Uruguay, Brazil, Mexico, Cuba, Peru, Argentina, and the cohort included sociologists, political scientists, filmmakers, lawyers, anthropologists. I'm an engineer, so as Andrew said, it's really from very different realms and backgrounds. And I've been in touch with several of participants in my cohort. Some of them have come to Chile already, and we've connected here. So, as most things in the US, you have to be independent. Don't expect that they're going to do everything for you. You have to, send emails, contact professors. Everybody's busy, but I think it's part of what's motivating about being there. That people are busy, they're doing stuff. One more thing, one of the requirements. Once you get to Boston, they give you a very nice office, and people are very welcoming. They're very kind, very warm. You have to participate in one seminar every Monday. In my case, I don't know which days now, but the seminar was fantastic. You see your other people in your cohort present really outstanding work, very creative. There's a lot of opportunities for thinking about Latin America and about the work, your own work. And then you can participate in other seminars as well. Dr. Class has a lot of weekly seminars, but also a lot of activities, films, discussions. I participated in a seminar at the School of Public Health, which was really interesting for me. I just sent the professor who was in charge, I sent him an email and asked him whether I could participate. They of course said yes, you're welcome to do so. And so I kept myself busy at Harvard. So in summary, I think it's a fantastic scholarship. The people at Dr. Class are really, really, really nice and warm and make things very easy. And it provided me with a lot of good opportunities for my career as a researcher, but also for my family. My kids still ask about Boston, and it was a really wonderful experience for them as well. So with that, I don't think I have anything else to say.
Thank you, Eduardo. And it's wonderful to hear. It sounds like it had this great cohort. It has that cohort mentality, which I think makes this program quite unique and different to others. I'm wondering if you could talk to us a bit about the application process and what that was like, and if you have any advice that you would give to those applying.
So I asked, of course, if somebody wants to send me an email asking about specifics, I'll be more than happy to talk to them. I also talked to some of the previous people who have been at Dr. Class. But the application is very straightforward. You just have to tell you what you, as Andrew said, what you want to do, why you want to do it at Harvard, and then get a few references so that people at Harvard know what you do, who you are, and sort of get a sense of, because everyone can always talk good things about themselves, but but you have to get someone to say that, that the things you're doing are aligned with the mission of Dr. Class. But the process is very simple. There's just a very simple form you have to fill and get 2 or 3. I think it's 2 reference letters, right, Andrew?
Yes, 2.
Yeah, so it's really easy. It's the only thing that I would say was a little bit tricky was getting the visa for once you were accepted. But that's that doesn't depend on Harvard or Luksic, so it depends on the embassy.
Eduardo, I can't remember if we had done this for your cohort, but we're now trying to get answers before the end of the calendar year, so before the 31st of December, or very, very early in January, knowing that getting visa appointments and approvals can take some time.
Yeah, that's fantastic. So I got my acceptance letter in March, and it was a little bit tight.
Yeah.
But also now there's an ambassador here in Chile. It took a while to get that settled.
Perfect. Thank you, Eduardo. And we can go ahead and answer any questions now from the audience, whether those have to do with the application process, the requirements. Those will go to Andy. Of course, if there's any questions also for Eduardo more on the scholar experience. If you'd like, you can raise your hand. We'll unmute you. You can also leave any questions in the chat box. Si quieren también en español. We are quite bilingual. Let's see here. Okay. I know that Cristobal in the audience has a question. So Cristobal, I'll go ahead and unmute you and I hope it will work. Oops.
Hello, can you listen to me properly?
Yes. Thanks, Cristobal.
No, thanks to you. I wanted to ask if, can you take classes while you are at the DRCLAS program? I mean, because, for example, one of the reasons one may go to Harvard and to the DRCLAS programs is to take classes to see if one can develop abilities one does not already have, right? So, for example, if I'm, I don't know, specialize in theoretical research and I want to specialize or to know a bit more about certain social research methods, for example, right? Maybe it would be good for me to take classes there if possible. Is it possible to do that or to justify one's project through arguments like that?
I think, Eduardo, you didn't enroll in any classes, did you?
No, I didn't enroll in a specific class, but I attended several seminars, and I mean, you usually have to. So my experience was I just send an email to the professor who was in charge, tell them, I'm a DRCLAS fellow, I want to join your seminar, would that be a problem? And they always said yes, you're more than welcome.
I think that the trade-off for attending and enrolling in a course and doing it for credit and being expected to be there all the time, that might just be challenging for you when you're trying to choose among your many other opportunities. But to answer your question about the application, we're more interested in the faculty and what is being taught than hearing what courses you might be interested in. Certainly want to hear it, but that's not going to help the application.
But you mean the faculty at Harvard or the
faculty at Harvard, right? So the courses change too. So what's available this year might not be available next year. It's something you would want to include in the application, but certainly not without showing some knowledge of the research and the faculty, what the faculty is, both their research agenda and their instruction.
Perfect. Thank you, Cristobal. Best of luck if you choose to apply. Okay. So let's see here. I know that Jaime also has a question. We'll allow Jaime to chat. Jaime, can you hear us okay?
Yes, I can hear. Can you hear me? Oh, thank you. Well, thank you very much, Gabriel, Andrew, and Eduardo for the everything sounds very straightforward, so that is it's very nice to hear that, and that the process is not very bureaucratic. And I wanted to ask if about the this being not a postdoc program, because I was thinking applying, but I earned my PhD 4 years ago, and so I wanted to have a reference about that subject. Is 4 years is too early, or we're expecting to have a older PhD graduates? And also I was wondering how will you assess the proficiency in English, because I a few years ago, I was a visiting student at Oxford, and I took this IELTS test, but that test had an expiry date. So I don't know if you will, to assess the English, you will have a requirement to take the TOEFL or some other test like that, or you will assess with for example, with written work or a paper. I don't know.
It would be a brief interview, which I can tell you already, you would be more than, if you keep this level of English, you'll be fine. We're not expecting, because you're not teaching, but you will be engaging and you will be giving seminar or two. So you have to be somewhat proficient. But Eduardo, I don't know if you have your cohort had all different levels of English, if I'm not mistaken.
Yes, yes. So some were very proficient, some others weren't. But I mean, if you're selected and you don't feel very comfortable with English, I mean, it of course helps you a lot to be as fluent as you can be. So I mean, if you are accepted, it's a good idea to have English classes and reinforcement before going to Boston. But I mean, there were 2 or 3 in my cohort who had I would say medium level of English, and they did very well. But I mean, you miss opportunities if you're not fluent. So it's something you may want to work on before going.
And regarding the years out from PhD, there's no sort of minimum threshold. We just don't encourage folks who are fresh out. So I don't want to say that 4 is the right or wrong number. Consider applying. And let me also say that at the end of the day, we receive so many dozens and dozens of applications that would be absolutely phenomenal. At the end of the day, we're also selecting a cohort. So this isn't always great to hear when you have a specific semester or a year that you need to take off, but people have applied again and ended up getting it. So it's not a one and done sort of opportunity.
Okay, thank you very much. And I'll think applying, and if it's not the time, I can wait a few years and just go.
It will be around. The program's not going anywhere. Thank you so much, Jaime.
Thank you.
Enjoy your afternoon. Okay, we have a question from Fabiola. Fabiola will go ahead and unmute.
Hello, thank you everyone for all the information. I want to ask, in my case, my work is, I'm a cell biologist, so I require to do, for example, experiments. I have to have some laboratory previously shown where I can go and do my things, and I will have resources to do that, how that works.
This is something that would really be beneficial to establish contacts before. Lab access is one of the most challenging resources to get, and DRCLAS isn't really in a position to facilitate that. But if there are labs at which you want to target and we can connect you to the faculty, we're happy to do that. We just don't facilitate it ourselves, or we're not the decision makers.
Okay, thank you.
Thanks, Fabiola. And we have a question also on the line from Soledad. Soledad, we'll go ahead and unmute you.
Hello, can you hear me?
Yes, hi Soledad.
Can you?
Yes. Can you hear us?
Yes. Oh,
Perfect.
great. So thanks very much for meeting. It all sounds really exciting. I can't wait to apply, and it does sound very straightforward, so it's good. I have a very quick and practical question. I just want to know, if my proposal is to write a book, is it okay to apply for a 4-month stay, even if I can't finish the book in that period of time?
Absolutely.
Okay. Great.
Oh, you got your very concise short answer.
Yeah.
Very much.
Of course, you want to make progress, but there are no requirements in terms of time. And
Oh.
what is it that you say when you, Eduardo, when the book, when will the book be finished? When it's finished.
Excellent.
Thank
Okay,
you so much.
thanks very
Best
much.
of luck to you. Okay, we have Jaime Phillips.
Sorry,
Jaime.
I had my hand up. I will lower it.
okay. I was like, is it a different Jaime? No worries. Okay. And then Jessica, we'll go ahead and unmute your mic.
Hi, hello. Thanks for the opportunity. I have the next question. When I am writing my project, in my case, I'm a pharmacologist, and I looking for a laboratory in the Brigham Women Hospital. We can do that. We can apply when we are talking about a laboratory with insert in the Harvard University, but the experience are related to. And in that case, in the project, we must to, or we should to write it.
You should, for laboratory work, you should establish those relationships before, and in your application, let us know what the relationship is. That unfortunately is not something that we can facilitate once you're here.
Yeah, but it's no problem to talking in or writing in the project and to define it previously.
No, that's we do want to hear that. What isn't good is that the access to the lab is hopeful and not probable, if that makes sense.
Okay, thank you.
Thanks, Jessica. I know there's also a few questions here in the chat. There are a couple for Eduardo, and Eduardo, Camilo would like to know how you managed to bring your research to Boston and continue it from there.
And so most of my research is based on data analysis. So, I mean, I just travel with my computer. That's an easy answer. I don't need a lab. But I do have for example, PhD students, and I do have my group meetings, which I continued from Zoom. But also, I mean, some of the networking I did, some of the people I met, have provided now good opportunities for my students also. So I mean, that's part of the what makes the scholarship attractive. I mean, there's so many options. That I met with people and asked them whether my students could go there, spend 2 months in a specific program, and some of that has worked, some hasn't, but I mean, there's the opportunities there. And my work, I just kept doing it from Harvard. They give you a nice office space and a nice screen. There's also one short question by Daniel, which I somehow missed. I wanted to answer it, but I think I pressed the wrong button. Daniel is asking about my kids. How did I manage the language? So I have 3 kids, 6, 9, and 11. And the oldest one was the only one who spoke English. The other ones didn't. But the schools give you they make a quick diagnostic test, and then they provide you a lot of resources from the public school to support their English. And I mean, what makes it very easy, I think, is that they 3 like sports, and so I mean, they were running behind a ball. So the first day they had a lot of friends already.
That's
If that
awesome.
makes sense. I mean, there's a lot of support from public schools. I mean, that's really easy.
Perfect. Thanks, Eduardo. I know there's a couple people now back in the audience waiting. They have their raised hands. Gonzalo, we'll go ahead and unmute, and you can ask your question.
Thank you. I trust that you guys can hear.
Yes.
Thank you for the presentation. Thank you, Gabriel, Andrew, and Eduardo. I have 2 questions. I hope that they can fit in the space that is allowed for one person to ask. Does it help the application if one has already connected with the people with whom one would like to work or learn from in Harvard? And the second, which I believe you already answered, the second would be, does the selection committee punish in any way applications that are in any degree similar to previous submitted applications? Thank you.
So no to the punishment question. We've had similar fields, a few years in a row. That should not be a concern of yours. Again, we are selecting a cohort, so it might not be that year, but do not worry about if someone just recently was in your field or just does similar type work. Oops.
Thanks. Oh, yeah,
And then
Gonzalo. Oh, sorry,
another
go ahead.
question. I'm just going back to it.
It's in the
Oh, does it
answer.
help?
Mhm.
Oh, it's already there. It does help.
Yeah.
If you establish those relationships and tell us about them, but it's not required.
Perfect. Sorry if I interrupted. What I wanted to say, if there would be any degree of punishment or not being looked or not looking good, if the application that, for example, I would be submitted this year would be in any degree similar to the one that I submitted the previous year, kind of like
Oh, you yourself,
not
forgive
punish,
me.
kind of like punishing that I am not submitting a new one or entirely new one.
No, I think the committee would want to see what progress you've made in your sort of research agenda, but we don't require a new project from a reapplicant. Did I get the second?
Yes.
Okay, great.
Exactly, yes. So thank you for the time and understanding.
Thank you, Gonzalo. Best of luck in the application process. I'm going to go back to the questions in the chat. We'll end this Q&A at 5:45. So we'll have about just a few minutes here. And if, of course, can't get to any questions, I'll put the Harvard Doctor Class's email in the chat so you guys can also reach out directly to them. And there's a question from Muriel about asking where they can find the form to design the proposal, if it has to be an investigation proposal or about activities we would like to do. From my understanding, there's probably not a format, or I'll let the expert answer.
Yeah, no, if you go to the application website, you'll see the requirements. It's a description, but it's not there's no formal sort of I'm not using the right words in any language. It's fairly free form, right, Eduardo?
And it's really easy.
Perfect. I hope that answers your question, Mordiel, and best of luck in the application process. And then Kenzo has a question. They're uncertain whether they're able to make the September or March of next year of 2025 dates. Is there a chance of deferral?
Thanks. So to clarify, the upcoming deadline is for the fall semester of 24, so September of 24 or January of 25. Beyond that, deferrals are not usually given, but if there's a very high probability that you could do it in one of the two upcoming semesters, you should absolutely apply. There have been the rare occasion where, because of a variety of reasons, we've been able to choose an alternate and secure a spot for the person who needs to defer. It's just not very common.
Perfect. I hope that answers your question, Kenzo. And then we just have time for two more. I know there's two hands raised. So Maria Cristina, we'll go ahead and unmute you. And I hope it works.
Good afternoon. You listen to me?
Yes, we can hear you just fine.
Okay.
Yes.
I want to know how I have any contact with research or in my specialty in aquaculture research, and how I can contact someone research for my area.
So I'd be happy to if you email me, I'd be happy to try to answer your questions if I learn more about your field. But as I mentioned, Harvard is incredibly decentralized, so it really does take some homework on your part to try to find the folks at the schools, the different fields that you're interested in. We don't broker those relationships. We can give names and possibly make introductions, but that is something you'll have to do on your own. A related question, if you don't mind, Gabby, in the box says, is it compulsory to have a contact with the faculty beforehand? It is not. It helps, but it is not absolutely necessary.
Okay. From Maybell. Maybell, if you're still on the line, we'll unmute and you can ask your question.
Hey, hello, I'm Professor Mabel Moreno. I'm a doctor in physics of nanostructure in advanced material. And I won a scholarship at the Organization of American States 2 years ago to carry out the diploma program of COVID-19 and planetary health. And before that, I did the program in artificial intelligence at the MIT. And currently I am carry out a research here in Germany. I'm a remote professor, and I would like to know, a remote professor from Chile, and I would like to know if there are more chances to get the scholarship if I contact the professor before.
You will submit a better application if you show that you've done your homework and try to find the folks at Harvard who work in the field that you work at and who you would like to be involved with. Does not mean you need to have made them your partner on a research project or already gotten permission, except for labs, already gotten permission to get into one of their classes. We just need to know that you have thought about and found, try to find who at Harvard you would like to work with. We don't, how do I put this? It's not that we want someone who's already well enchufado and connected to Harvard. It just helps us to know that you know at what are the resources available at Harvard, including the faculty that you would like to work with.
Okay, perfect. Thank you. Thank you so much.
Mabel. Okay, great. So that wraps up our information session. Just to let everyone know in the audience, we will send a recording of the session so you can have the information on hand in your emails. We'll also, of course, email you as well DRCLAS's contact information. And if you'd like to get in touch with Eduardo, let us know, and then we can share his contact as well. As a reminder, the deadline for applications is October 16th. So that's coming up. But as you guys know, it seems the application process is very simple and straightforward, but you will want to get your application started right away, as you do need recommendation letters, etc. So please, we do encourage you to apply, to also share with friends and colleagues. And of course, we do want to give a special thank you to Andy and Eduardo for sharing their insights with us today, their advice. And that's it. So thank you for joining us. You'll get some email contact from us, and we hope you have a good rest of the week.